Hello, beautiful souls. In this podcast, I had the pleasure of speaking with an extraordinary guest and a friend of mine, Kristi Young, better known as Stella. Stella is her burner name and the name I use for her with endearment and love. Stella is an artist and she's a healer and entrepreneur who has been dedicated her entire life to preventing starving artist syndrome. She empowers artists and craft-based businesses and helps them with ideas and innovations to thrive. From her early ventures in visionary graffiti to creating breathtaking sun catchers and her transformative work as a joy doula, Stella's journey is a testament to the power of creative self-expression and emotional clarity. So join us as we dive deeper and explore the energies that drive her purpose and how she integrates her unique gifts to support others on their most important days, on their most important passions. She is a right angle cross of Eden, which is all about finding and creating paradise in one's life. This cross carries the energy of seeking and establishing a personal sense of peace and fulfillment, and it involves the pursuit of what feels good and right, creating an environment that supports a sense of well-being and harmony. So let's dive in. You're going to hear us talk about all the beautiful experiences that she's created, all of the ideas that she has, and then we get to dive deep into how all of this energy is also deep within her human design chart, and we get to connect the dots on how she is truly already expressing and living her incarnation cross, what she's here to be, what she's here to do. And hopefully through this conversation, she has even a deeper awareness and can take even more bold steps than she already does. I know this woman, she is bold, she is not afraid, but I hope that she took away something from our conversation that just sparked a little bit more in one area or another for her to step out into a little bit more of the uncomfortable, even though I don't know if she gets uncomfortable. I love this woman with all my heart. So let's dive in.
Do you spend all of your time building and maintaining your business so that you achieve the success you envision? Do you feel frustrated, unfulfilled, and have a loss or disconnect from your creative flow? Are you a conscious leader that is ready for change when it comes to society's views on money, wealth, relationships, and what prosperity truly means? If so, you are in the right place. Welcome to the Provoking Prosperity Podcast. I am your host, Miranda Mitchell. I am a 2-4 Mani-Gen who is here to empower and equip you to step out of the box of social norms, guide you into using your voice for inspiration and impact, and support you in finding what prosperity means for you so that you have the business and life that fulfills you. So grab that cup of coffee, get comfy, and get ready to hear the heartwarming and heart-wrenching personal stories, all things human design and Gene Keys, plus tangible practices that you can implement right now for your personal and business growth.
Hello, beautiful souls. This is Miranda Mitchell with Provoking Prosperity Podcast. And today I have the lovely, beautiful Kristi Young, who I like to call Stella, because in my heart, this is who she is. So thank you for being in this space. So grateful that you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
I want to dive right in so people understand your story of who you are and what you bring to the world. Because when we talk about creativity and creatives and bringing people together and having this beautiful vision, you have all the things. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you have moved along the journey to where you're at now.
Oh boy, yes. So pull up a chair. It's a long one, but again, very happy to be here. Thank you. Let me just start at the beginning. I was a creative child. I knew immediately that I was going to be an artist. When I grew up, I told my mom that repeatedly. I met an artist very young on and just blurted out, "Can you make me some art?" Which my mom told me was rude later, but she said yes. And I still have that piece hanging in my wall. It's one of those things that just keeps me going and reminds me who I am and what I'm about. I started going to Savannah College of Art and Design back in 1999. I started school there and I actually ended up getting a scholarship to go there because I was chosen to be part of the Governor's Institute, which is only a couple kids from each of the different programs got to go to that summer school. And that did help me get my college level courses and really great portfolio together and tied it all together and allowed me to get a scholarship as well to this really prestigious school. Needless to say, I was making my way through my classes when I noticed they were not doing a lot to teach me about being a business. And there was not a lot on my curriculum that was going to teach me how to market myself. I just thought to myself, man, I am going to pay all this money and I'm going to be so talented, but I'm going to end up working at 7-Eleven and just having this really talented thing. And how am I going to pay my college bills if like I can't sell my art? The tale is all the time, starving artist. I like to jokingly call it starving artist syndrome. My first mission in life, I think, was to help other artists not have that starving artist syndrome and to actually be able to go forth and prosper with their art and be creative and talented and have enough of a base that they could get their works out there to the public for sale. I dropped out of art school and I later enrolled in business school and I got a degree in business. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs of all kinds of businesses. So it's just in my blood. I was born a promoter and I spent many years helping all of my creative friends who did finish art school or were in art school or just had a great idea. Some of them were fine artists and some of them had artistic services that they provided. And I was able to launch their venture with them. And probably over 50 people I've helped at the very least or been a part of their ventures, maybe more if I really sat down and made a list. So many Facebook pages started back when Facebook was a little more flexible for businesses and things like that. It was a new frontier, social media and all of that. And I was excited and young and I really helped get my friends where they needed to be. And not that they wouldn't found their way eventually, but I like to think that I had a hand in helping them get to there. I think that mission carries with me today. And I still get really excited about any kind of project, art piece, business venture, or more that people are doing in their lives. And in fact, my latest and big venture is to do Project Ohmstead, which is going to be creative events and so much more. But a lot of that is tying in vendors and artists and creatives locally so that they can make money off of the clients we have coming in doing different projects, but also have a grounds to collaborate together to help each other rise up and grow and prosper, both in our art, financially, and overall happiness, because you got to have that balance in your life.
I love that because that's really where we connect. Even with this podcast, I bring on artists and creatives because I feel like it is the importance of reconnecting to creativity that helps us reconnect ourselves, our authenticity, each other, and so we can thrive doing the things that we love. And you are also doing the same because that's a vision that you see. And you also know in your heart that this has fulfilled you and you want other people to experience that. Let's talk about you for a little bit. Let's get into you, who you are, and what makes you tick. So when I go into your chart, a lot of it has to do with ideas. We've talked many ideas flow. So how do you balance the multitude of ideas that you have with practical steps that is needed for them in your life?
The first thing is having a great triage. Okay, that's a cool idea. If I had $1 million, put that aside, right? But being realistic about it, I just constantly have a flow of ideas. And that's one of the things that's helped me help other people, but also help myself. I'll dream of art pieces. I think of new ways to do things where it got a little artistic or personalized flair to it. One of the things that I'm currently doing is using light as my medium, and bending it to make rainbows, and also known as sun catchers that I've been building. And they're very unique. They're unlike other sun catchers. I make them in a film and we have a laser engraver. So I make wood frames and then I layer them using my die cut machine and vinyl, like holographic different patterns. And I use a lot of sacred geometry. I'm very into sacred geometry and the platonic solids. Those are very powerful symbols that we use. And so I've been making a lot of sun catchers and things like that is unique. And so I'm always coming up with new ideas on how to market them or how to utilize them. The other thing that kind of led into this is we do creative events. I've recently gotten really into ceremonial or sacred art. recently I did a mother's placenta where I did a placenta press on canvas. So she had an art print of her placenta. I took the cord and I made it into a shape, which was a heart. And I dried that, and she's able to hang that into this dream catcher I made for her after I did a mother's blessing. And as well as doing belly painting. I'm into body painting mothers' bellies, especially. It's very rewarding. And I classify that kind of as a sacred or ceremonial type art. It's a little different. I'm not just putting together something for myself. I'm not even putting it together for the mom or the baby. It's like almost a higher power there that we're putting this together for, and showing, how beautiful motherhood can be, and also prepping the mother for this big event. She's going from maiden to mother, and especially for the first time, that is a huge change. There's a lot of letting go of old ways and accepting new ways. I love celebrating the joy of being pregnant and helping them to make that transition. Or when the baby is born, taking that special placenta and encapsulating it so the mother can eat it later on, or having that art that she can hang on the wall and memorializing that huge, impactful event in her life. I don't think we do enough of the respecting of the events in our lives these days. It's so easy for us to be disconnected. Friend has a birthday, you might message them on Facebook, whereas before social media, you probably gave them a call or you stopped by and saw them. Now they get 50 messages. They may not even have seen yours. So technically, in their mind, you never connected with them on your birthday. There's examples of this all throughout this technology boom that we've had recently. And we need to start getting back to our roots, back to these things that we used to celebrate in big ways, and we've since stopped, or we haven't made as big of a deal of them, and they need to be. We work very hard as humans. It is hard to human. We should be celebrating our birthdays. We should be celebrating birthing. We should be helping the mothers, and not just a baby shower where we're just getting gifts for the baby and a bunch of people come that your mom invited and you don't even remember, like some great aunt or whatever. No, I'm talking about your tribe, your sacred circle of trusted friends getting together and not celebrating the baby, but celebrating the mother specifically, and giving her that encouragement and love, and reminding her the goddess of creation she is, so that when she goes into labor, she has some art pieces that you created during that time, during that ceremony, during that reminder, to help her through that labor, to remind her that, hey, it takes a tribe and you have a tribe. And hey, now you had this baby. Most people will just dispose of their placenta, but there's so many health benefits. And even artfully, maybe you just want to have a keepsake. And mommies keep weird keepsakes of their baby, a lock of hair, a tooth. And I call mine the little box of mommy's horrors. These things should be treasured and they should be ingrained. And now I don't even know if I answer your question, but mostly my art is about other people and about celebrating moments and about being sacred. I talked about the rainbows. So now I'm even incorporating those rainbows into my ceremonies that I have for these ladies, where maybe I'm painting their belly or I'm doing some Reiki, but there's rainbows that I've set up, and I've brought my films to hang in all their windows. So wherever we are at with this, as long as the sun is shining, we're also bathed in rainbows during this time.
Sounds like what you're talking about is emotional connection rather than just the superficial connection, because it seems like that's where a lot of us in society are. It's fast, it's easy, you don't have to really feel. And that even goes into the feeling aspect and being distracted. And that is also your chart, because you do have the emotional solar plexus defined, which is about creativity and about the emotions and connection and community, which is how we actually met, is through a community, the Burn community, which you invited me into, which I call a family now. It's community and connection is so important. How much is emotional clarity? How does that play into your process? Because emotion is really important.
Yes. It's kind of everything. Otherwise, we're just these like robotic meat suits doing things. So the emotion is what brings the life in. And emotional clarity is interesting because depending on who you have, some people are very clear on what their emotions are. And a lot of people are not clear on their emotions. They may be experiencing them and showing them and having them, and not even be able to tell you exactly what type of emotion they're feeling. Doing these types of ceremonies, and even maybe for the mom, that was a big moment and we had all our friends come, but her friends that came to those events are also being taught, oh, this is what being a tribe is. It's more than just hanging out on the weekends. It's being there in these weird moments, in these tougher times when we need each other. And everybody needs a friend. And I think it's so easy, again, boom of technology that we've had where we all now work remote jobs and everything is ordered in the door. We don't even go to the grocery store anymore. We don't have to do any of that. So you're missing all of these connections through your life constantly. And one of my biggest goals is to bring something beautiful, something that's exciting, and then let the fishing lure, like, check this out, and then bringing people in and helping teach them to reintegrate, to understand not only their emotions, other people's emotions too. How's the mom feeling? How is this going for her? Let's not just get the shower together and throw some gifts at her and then be out. Like, let's sit down and do some crafts together, make some art for the baby together or for the mom together. And then in that, feeding them little tidbits and just helping our community grow. But also, as an artist, who I am, which is a very emotional person, I both have big emotions myself, and I also feel emotions for other people, which is sometimes confusing too. And it's, where are these coming from? Is this me? Am I upset? Am I anxious right now? Or maybe I just hung out with someone and quantumly got entangled, and now I'm feeling things for them too. It happens. It's a strange, weird world we live in. But emotionally, I think a lot of great art can come from that. And taking those times, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can make something beautiful out of them. You can use those times and that energy to put into your craft. And it doesn't have to be creative. Maybe you're an accountant and you just want to do some like bookkeeping. Put some energy into that. Like, you feeling antsy or whatnot, you can find that clarity by listening to your body, doing some grounding work, and then putting it into something you love. And whatever you love, that's your art. That's your art. You don't have to be a paint artist like Bob Ross style to be an artist. You just have to understand that your craft may look different than what other people typically categorize as a craft.
When I was in school, I did paint, I wrote, I did poem, I did all those things. But now I realize my creativity and what I love to do is connect with people with who they are so that they love themselves. That's my creativity, being able to support people to own who they are, their creative endeavors, and I'm able to help guide people in that way. There's been a couple podcasts I've done where people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take that and do something with that. Just yesterday, I saw a post and I'm like, oh my gosh, he actually did it. He's using his voice when it was through this connection of him and I having this conversation. So because of that, my creative endeavors is supporting creatives stepping into their authenticity. And that feels so good for me because I didn't love myself. I didn't know myself. And to be able to support someone and say, hey, you're beautiful. And for them to say, yeah, I am freaking beautiful. And then own it. That's my creative process. So I love that you said that because a lot of people do question, I'm not a creative. I don't draw. I don't do this. So how am I creative? We are all creative. It's connecting with what feels good, what lights us up, and then doing it authentically, boldly, without caring what people say about it. Being who you are. And those people that love you will see you. And those that do not understand will judge. And that's okay. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It means they're not for us.
Yep, exactly. And I think you and I are very similar in that, in the guiding and the wanting to help and just being attracted by other creative people, because when you have that attraction, you surround yourself with those people, that's what is brought into your life in abundance. And I'll also make a note too, you can have art and have emotions about it or care about what people say about it, but it should not stop you from continuing to do you. You know, feel free to feel what you're going to feel if someone says, man, that's some rotten stuff. And I also like to think that, you know, when I get some negative feedback, it makes it more real art, right? Because it made people feel like, generally, I think I'm trying to go for a good feel or curious or, oh, that's pretty cool. But every once in a while you get that off one, and it's almost like an honor because it actually made someone feel an emotion that was not what you intended for it. So it's almost a superior thing to get that negative stuff. And, you know, it's that you made it when you got haters or whatever. But I think it's just, if you can create and stir emotion in people, it's great. And I don't want to make people upset all the time. That's not my goal. But if I get one off here or there, it's only going to drive me to do more further because I want to have a range of emotions in my art. And I want to use it when I'm having my own range of emotions to put into my art and back into whatever endeavor, venture, or creative person I'm helping at the time.
It's all about perspective. And then you're right, keep moving. Don't let it make you stop. Don't let it question, doubt, all that. Keep moving into what makes you feel alive, basically.
Yeah.
How do you discern when to express your creative ideas and emotions and when to hold back?
I'll openly say that I have ADHD, and holding back is sometimes the biggest challenge for me because I will also often forget what I'm about to say if someone gets me twinkle something else cool in front of me. In my youth and growing up, I would just blurt out whatever, even if I was interrupting someone to get it out. And that did cause a little discourse there. Like people like, oh, it's too much, or this is an appropriate time, or whatnot. So I, in my later years, use Facebook Messenger, and I will voice clip messenger myself if I'm driving or something and I have an idea, or if I'm talking to someone and it's not the right time for that idea, I'll put it out. And like I said in the beginning, there's like a triage now for my thoughts and ideas. And sometimes I can control it, and sometimes it's just my creative monster is go. But there are ways of presenting things and also giving yourself some time to think about that really great idea and then be able to present it in an authentic way that's going to actually capture the audience that you're going for, whether it be a person or a group of people or just social media or whatever it may be, to get that idea out and facilitate that. And I think there's also time and place. So using your calendar, schedule yourself something. Some days not on the calendar. Oh, I thought of this great dream last night of this art piece I want to do. So write that down in as much detail so you remember it and put it on the calendar. And yeah, if you have to bump it out a week or two because of this or that, that's fine. But don't delete it from your calendar. Make it annoying. Make it so it's going to continually remind you to do that thing. Because if you dreamt about it, you had a passion about it, you had an idea about it, something sparked you and you want to make that happen, put it on the calendar. Make it a real deal thing. Once you see it, it's not this figment of your imagination. There's no someday. It's got a date and a time on your calendar. Even if that has to be flexible, it's on there.
And I'm going to go into human design here because as a manifesting generator, you have activation to the throat, and it's through creativity through the 3536. So it directly goes to the throat, but it is an emotional authority. So with what you just said, I'm just putting side notes here for you and for anyone that's listening. As a manifesting generator, you do have that initiation process of when it comes to the throat to express it. However, when you have an emotional authority, there is a waiting period. So for you to put that in the calendar, to feel into it, to say, oh, the next day, I feel like I still want to express this. It still excites me. You wait for that through your emotional wave. And then also maybe seed it to someone. Hey, whoever it is, I had this wonderful dream about you in something. Do you want to hear about it? And then if they say yes, they're responding. So then you respond to their yes. So then they're ready and open to hear it rather than you just like, blah, 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 just all this stuff when they weren't ready. Yeah. So there's always steps within the emotional wave and the expression of sharing, especially for you, because you are full of ideas and it is part of your incarnation cross, to just take those few steps so that people will hear it when they're ready rather than when they're not ready. So you're already doing that. I would just say, put that question in there. Do you want to hear something?
Yes. Consent, getting consent. It's a huge one. I've actually been learning a lot about that. And we can all forgive each other. Our meat suits are our meat suits. And some of them they've got add-on bonuses like ADHD, for example, can be very impulsive. Forgive your friends. And also you can help people by gently pointing these things out. Hey, that would be great if you could write all these down and email me this list or whatnot.
I do want to show you some love with the ADHD because I've noticed through my connections with people, a lot of people are labeled with ADHD that are just so passionate and have ideas all the time. And it's really just a label, like who you are, and love that about you.
It's actually my superpower. I can do so many more things in my brain than probably an average person. And I wear myself out sometimes. But when I am grounded and emotionally unclear, I can actually utilize this as a gift to multitask and get a lot of things done at one time. And I also joke that I have, what was it? I called it compulsive creative disorder, CCD, but I just made it up because I nonstop am making art constantly. And I'm a mom now. And so my art energy goes to my son now. But before I had him, there was like 10 new pieces a day. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even sell it all. So it was like hanging out in my living room. I'm giving it away. It's piles of art on the wall. And that's just who I am. But you mentioned earlier sparking an idea for someone and then actually seeing them follow through with it. A lot of the times when I'm making art and stuff, it's just for me. Maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll gift it. Who knows? Sometimes I use it as a practicing point to get to another level of my art or whatnot. But every time I make art, I share that with the world on Facebook, social media, however you want to share it. And not that's for everyone, but I have found that when I do that and I share about myself, or when I don't do a great job, when I do a good job, when I have new art and I share that with the world and I communicate that out, I always get one or two people who will get a spark from it. Now, if you can spark that one person, that could change their entire course of their life. That's a lot of power. And if they are happy and engaged and inspired by what you provided them in their own craft or whatever they have to offer, they're going to inspire 10, 20 more people with it, if not more. And those people are going to get inspired and so on and so forth. Just do what you love. If you do what you love and then you share it with one person, two people, with social media, depending on your introverted, extroverted level of comfortable, I think we could inspire a lot of people. And right now, that disconnect, that lack of inspiration, that joy, I think it's at an all-time low right now. And we need to work and get back to our roots and back to our community and go get your groceries online, but then plan a date with your girl tribe, or go take your kid to the public park instead of just playing in your backyard for the day. You never know what you're going to come across or see. It's good to explore. It's good to go ground in society. Ground yourself in society every once in a while. Don't stay locked up in your room. Don't always order your groceries online. Every once in a while, go out to the restaurant or something. It's not COVID times anymore. Everybody's that kind of paused humanity for a minute on top of our big technical boom that we were having and all this stuff. Let's not let that win. Let's get back to what is important for society and important for individuals and celebrate our moments. Let's make our art. Let's spark creativity in others.
I always say it's a yes and. So I feel like right now we're actually very blessed. COVID happened. So now a lot of things have gone virtual, like this podcast we're doing virtually, but yeah, you and I are meeting afterwards to go meet in person, right? So it's choosing what you want to do virtually and also getting to choose what you get to do in person. So it's a yes and. We're really blessed as far as this, I feel.
We're such a great part of like life and humanity and society. We're smart. We have all these cool tools. We've got AI coming up, which is going to do a bunch of stuff for us, but let's let it do the work stuff and let's just all make art. Okay. Like that sounds like a good time.
I agree. I'd like to get vulnerable. You know, we're talking about connection here. We're talking about being in person, feeling and emotions. So a lot of the way that we connect is through challenges, through sharing deep experiences, deep emotions, or being there to support someone. So what challenges did you face in finding the voice and self-expression? And then how did you overcome them in your current approach to your life?
Whew, yeah, I could go on for days about this, but I will start with I was a painfully shy child. No one who knows me today would say, oh my gosh, really? Just even paying a cashier for a candy bar, I would get so worked up and nervous about it. I have some IBS, so I have to sit on the toilet about it, like the whole works. So as a child, I was super weird. They didn't diagnose me with ADHD till much later. I had my own way of being. I've always been this little creative empath weirdo. In the 80s, in the early 90s, that was not understood, accepted. I grew up in small town Vermont, which is a lot different than having a city. And one of the conversations that first brought us together, there was a certain group of people and they knew you. And once you lived a certain way, that's how you were always looked at. And so if you strayed out of there to try to find who you were creatively, you're going to get shot down. And so I'm living in Vermont. I'm a 27-year-old, just got out of college. I started a job at an IT tech company, which I still work at today, believe it or not, all this art and creativity. And what I do on the daily is a very left brain, right brain kind of activity. But at the time, I was living my biggest, fullest life I could in the spot that I was at. And then one of my managers asked me to come move to Florida, which is something I would have never done. My family and friends and everything I know is here. But for some reason, I was excited about it and inspired. And a year later, I was able to move down to Florida. And I joked that's really when my life started. I was able to find the Burning Man community. I stumbled into that accidentally. Used to love, they call it techno back in the day, but now it's EDM. I loved EDM for a while when it was very popular back in the early 90s, but up north, it just died out. There was like not a lot of places you could go to see that stuff. So when I moved to Florida, that all opened up for me. And again, I'm a natural promoter. So I started having my own EDM style events. And I did a little modeling growing up and I went to modeling school. So I love that vintage pin-up-y look. So I wanted to show that every woman could be beautiful. And so I started having these pin-up girl next door events where basically anyone, not models, just average Jane could come and look through my wardrobe of different costumes and outfits and vintage styles. And then I had someone do their hair, makeup. They had a photo shoot. All the while, I had businesses that gave goodies and like donations to their gift bags to market for the businesses. And then I had entertainers downstairs. We did this at a local club. Actually, a vintage bar down in Ybor City in Tampa had us come in. It's called the Bad Monkey, and it was the perfect setting for it. So we had upstairs to do the photo stuff. Downstairs, I just filled that place. We had DJs going, we had fire performers, we had pole dancers doing their thing. Everybody was involved. And all the women who did their photo shoot could stay upstairs if they were uncomfortable with how they were dressed and makeup. And it's one thing to wear day makeup, it's another thing to wear photo shoot makeup, which is a little more heavy. And all the women at first were a little cautious, but after a drink or two, and after they felt all the good vibes from everybody, they all came downstairs. So we got all these pinup girls mingling with the crowd and everybody's excited. And it was a lot of fun. It was a creative thing. And afterwards, I even had all these women come to me crying, saying, "Oh my gosh, this changed my life." So to answer your question, I had to overcome the limitations that I was put in this box in Vermont where I could only grow so big. There wasn't an opportunity for me to host those kind of things or to even come up with the idea to host those things in Vermont because of the limitations and the size of the population and what people were into up there. I had to go cross country and move myself. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I did it for my job. And when I got here, I ballooned and I became a very different kind of artist. I became a healer. I want to do this event company. I've helped my friends launch all of their businesses, and I'm able to do it in a bigger, better way because I have more audience. Florida just suited me better, gave me more hours in my day of sunshine and gave me more summertime to work on my outside projects. All of that contributed to overcoming this hurdle that if I lived in Vermont still, I wouldn't even have known that was a hurdle to overcome. Like I just was too big for Vermont.
Oh my goodness. I'm from Vermont too. So
yeah.
It's so funny that we both were in Vermont and now we come down to Florida. And although Florida, I know, is not my forever home, I do miss the mountains. I bloomed. Like it gave me the opportunity to meet new people, to be more diverse, to see the bigger picture. And then we got to meet. So it's very interesting about how that connection is there with Vermont. I always knew I was bigger in Vermont too. I love people, but I know I'm here to do bigger things.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to go back to the starving artist syndrome.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you personally now? And how do you see the mission evolving in the future?
I also believe in the power of words. So if you are constantly repeating something, it's basically what you're putting out into the universe. That is what you're gonna return to you in some form. And so I realized more so recently that I was saying, oh, I want to help all these creatives start their business, launch their ventures, but I never included myself on that. I'm putting all of this stuff out to the world and I'm not saying and myself in those times. So I've started doing that more. Burning Man, I can't speak enough volumes about how that changed my life. And I'll just say a lot of people think Burning Man is some hippies taking acid in the desert and they have some life-changing moments. Maybe there's some art and costumes, whatever. I will nix that. It is not a festival. It's not a party. What it is a celebration Because if you are a burner, typically you're working on some kind of project, gift, offering, service, workshop, or whatever your talent or excitement is, along with costumes to look the part and do the theme. And you put your all into this. And usually you do that 365 days a year. It becomes a lifestyle. It's not a thing you go to one weekend and then a couple of weeks later you're doing something else. This is something you do continually. And it doesn't have to be, but if you want to live that lifestyle, that's what it is. And so when we go to Burning Man, we aren't just taking some acid and we're hanging out in the desert. What we're doing is we're celebrating this accomplishment. And you know that feeling when you work really hard on something and you finally got it done and you're showing it off and you're like, "Doo-doo." It's this natural high. You can't help it. You feel good. And that radiates. So people who look at your art or whatever it is you accomplish and talk to you about it, they get all pumped up about it too. And imagine 80,000 people doing that. And that's Burning Man. So they're all riding that high, or most of them are, or they're being of service by volunteering there. Burning Man is actually a global organization. They have burns everywhere. In fact, our regional burn, Loveburn, I will mention, has helped us with our art organization which is currently a nonprofit art organization, get art grants in a very easy to do way that has helped grow us and grow our art to be able to take that out and show it with the rest of the world, not just in burns. And we've built spaceships, mobile mutant vehicle art cars that we've decked out. One was a mobile projector mapper that had a front passenger seat that had the laptop so they could projector map on the fly as they drove around. Maybe they saw some cool statue that wasn't lit up, so they pulled up and mapped it out. And now the projector is in projecting art. We had another one that was a people mover, so it brought the people. It also doubled as a projection screen if there was no art. And then the other one was a mobile DJ booth. And so individually, they all could play music and be a party on wheels and look cool. And they were all spaceship, space themed. People could ride around on. But when they came together, the music synced, the lights synced. They became like a transformer. They were Optimus priming it, and they brought a party. So together, they were better together, and they brought this huge thing. And so I was able to accomplish that with my camp, my art organization, nonprofit group, by getting art grants and then also some sheer will, tears, and hard work put into it. But financially, we were able to do these big, huge projects, still being starving artists, by working through the Burning Man community and getting those grants. And depending on which regional you do, they have their different art grant setups. But I will say that after talking to the director of the art grants, Jack Trash is his burner name, at Loveburn, he expressed to me how they wanted to make it easier for artists to get art grants. And I'm not talking little ones, although maybe you only need a little one. We're talking larger art grants to do something significant. If you've never gotten an art grant, or the word grant freaks you out and you think paperwork and all this stuff, don't. And check out Loveburn, because it's amazing. And it's a great first step for artists to get their feet wet and start a big project, show it off. And then you have that project to take to other burns and get a grant to bring it out there. Or you could build off of that idea and grow it bigger and better, or scrap it and start with something new. So there's so many ways to prevent starving artists, whether it's becoming more business minding or getting a manager who is more, you want to have your left brain, right brain people, like bring in those people to help you, or seek out help. For example, going to a burn, which is going to be so awesome all around, but could really boost you and allow you to get over that hump of the starving artist. So personally, having that resource has helped me grow to a point where now I'm an established middle-aged woman now. So I've got income of my own, and I sell my art, and I get these really cool grants to help boost it. We also do fundraisers with our nonprofit. And so for us personally, that is how we overcome that starving artist, because some of the people in my group, they don't have all of the things that I have. They don't have those kind of jobs, and they are living paycheck to paycheck, or maybe they don't even work, or maybe they're full-time artists. It allows us to do bigger projects and utilize our team. And so I would look for resources like that and keep battling starving artists and stop buying these Temus and the Wish and stuff like that that are stealing artists' work. look that stuff up if you're about to buy it and see if that is someone else's work and try to support them. Tag them in posts, right? If you're going to share something, and go out there to all of your creative small businesses and go share their page. It costs nothing, takes a second. And like I said, you just have to spark interest with one person and then they'll spark interest. And that goes for sales too. You get one person to buy things, be excited about it. They'll tell their friend, they'll tell their friend. And eventually you can get some financial money coming to you as well as an artist. And that's so important.
So what I'm really hearing here is there's different ways. A lot of people feel like there's only one way to make it, and there's a lot of different ways. And connecting with the Burn community is a huge way, because not only are you getting grants and all of that, but you're also establishing great friendships. And it's not even friendships, it's more so family, because I was invited by you to go to Loveburn this last year. My first year with the Lunacrats going, I had no idea what the hell I was getting into. But I noticed that every single person at that event loved one another, were respectful, went and enjoyed their art, talked about their art, asked questions, helped one another. It's not a festival. It's more so a family. You get to see your family, and then you get to work together and build together and learn from one another. So it is amazing. So not only like the grants, but then you get ideas, you get connections, you get to see different things that you never thought would be real. And I'm going to say, the DJ booth with the art car, I'm just saying right here, I got to witness Kevin DJ that as when all the lights went out, and it fucking rocked. Like, it was awesome how Kevin just brought the car out. Everything was quiet. The lights were out. And there Kevin was DJing. It was so awesome. It's those things that make you feel alive, connected. You're having fun. You're not just working the 9-to-5 job like we're so told that we have to do as adults. We don't have to do that, and we don't have to do it alone. We have people. We just have to be brave enough to go and try things out.
Yeah.
So I want to bring in Olmstead, because I know Olmstead is your big vision coming up. It's what you've been diving into. You've been working on this for so long, and now you're talking about it and having meetings about it. So what is your vision for Olmstead, for Project Olmstead? What is it? And how do you plan on integrating this new venture?
Yeah, it's so dynamic. So the initial view is, let's get some land and start turning a profit so we can keep the land and keep ourselves fed for a while. So initially, we're going to do what we are great at doing, and that's throwing events. And I'm talking weddings, corporate events, and baby showers, family reunions, birthday parties, whatever it may be, from small to large, but doing it in a way that is not that cookie cutter where you go to a hotel and they've got these 4 hours, this is how it's done. And the food is long. They get mad when your drunk uncle is giving too long on a speech. No, I want to make it this relaxed, custom, personalized event where not only that, but we're also pulling in people like you, Miranda, who can teach them about human design, which will help them being in a relationship and long-term and understanding each other on a new level. And a lot of religions will do this, where they'll bring the couples in for courses and stuff like that. So I want to integrate stuff like that is non-religious. It's just spiritual, or just celebrating humanity, and bring those tools in to help a couple. And, on their anniversary or something, we send them maybe a gift certificate to have a online relationship counselor checkup or something like that, with a nice card, and remind them too that, hey, we do baby showers, the mother's blessing, belly painting, that kind of thing. And then have them come back with their kid and have one of those events. And maybe we host their first birthday and their graduation party, and then you renew your vows, and then they come back for that. And maybe we even do your celebration of life when you pass on. I want to have an event space that's very dynamic and is going to allow couples, families, people who are celebrating whatever it is you are celebrating to come have the most epic time, but also be a part of your regular, where are we going to have this? What are we going to do? Oh, let's just go to Olmstead. They're going to have some great ideas, a great setup, and we're going to be able to come, have everybody stay with us, all of our guests and stuff on the property, because we want it to be a little B&B and two. So the bigger view too is to help support all of our vendors, creatives, artists, and service people who often get the shit end of the stick when it comes to these things. Because when it comes down to looking at where the money goes, wedding, and you look at it, and a lot goes to the hull and the wedding organizer. And then from there, it gets divvied up. I want to give creative ways on paying for these things too. So we don't have to skimp on the vendors getting what they deserve, the artists, the creators getting what they deserve as far as pay and recognition in these things. So if we already own the land and we own a lot of the things, we can provide discounts in different places to allow those artists and creatives who are like creating, maybe they want to make an archway for the wedding. We have a vendor who can do that and we pull them in, and then they want to collaborate with another vendor like the florist or something. We have them on site so they can actually work together to build these things and utilize our tools that we have in our maker space. So ideally we have a big maker space that has a number of different creative tools, a workshop, wood shop, welding areas. It's got a classroom. I see it, being used for our events, but also being used for other people to run their businesses. So if you're a florist, maybe you vend for us and you've got a little flower shop on site too. And you can take your stuff to your other weddings or friends and family or decorate your own home. It can be not just utilized on Olmstead, but helping these artists build up their businesses and grow and network with other creatives and people who have these talents. So we can try to keep all the businesses local as possible, supporting smaller businesses and growing at our roots. It's also going to be an Airbnb where we can do and host guests, whether they're camping or they have some kind of event there. What I like to use again is like, for a wedding, let's say we've got a bride and groom, traditional wedding. The bride doesn't want to be seen before the wedding day. So we set up the bride and all her bridesmaids up in one area. And we have a bunch of campers that are mobile. And those are our rooms that we theme out. And so they're like decked out campers. We move them all around. We design the shape based off of the personality of the bride and her guests. Maybe we roll up a soft-sided hot tub. We get some young strapping man to serve them drinks all night and be the bartender. We have some music there, or maybe we have a DJ spinning their favorite tunes. We have privacy walls set up that are their favorite colors, or maybe they're Pisces, so we do some waterfalls, that kind of level of personalization. And then on the groom side, the groom's guys get up and they have their own room set up for all of them to stay. And in the meantime, we've got the mother-in-law set up, and they're getting massages by our on-site masseuses and getting dolled up, and they have a hair or makeup appointment, maybe a Reiki session in the morning to ground them so they're not so uptight and screaming at the bride or whatever family dramas bubble up during weddings. So there's so many ways we're going to utilize this. I'd like to have it be basically a walkthrough park that the community can join. I want to have community gardens. I want to have a studio, a recording studio, a studio for making video recordings. I would like it to be something that's constantly growing. I want to have tree houses that people can rent out and stay in as rooms or just go visit and play on during the day, like a day park. Think Meow Wolf, but outside. And I want to change the event industry in full. I want to flip it upside down, right side up. And I want to do it so well that we have a bunch of people copy us. I want this to become the norm. I want to change the standards. I want to make people realize their birthday is important, that and they can do it in a big way. And we will put some payment plans together to make that possible, or we'll plan ahead, or we could scale it depending on what your needs are. And let's celebrate you in a big way. Let's not just wait for someone to maybe give you a Facebook hello on your birthday, right?
Yeah. And if any of you are listening and you want information on how to be a part of this, definitely everything will be in the show notes, so you can reach out to Kristi, or I like to call her Stella, so I'm just doing it. I'm calling you Stella. You can reach out to her, ask questions. Maybe you have some ideas, because I know that you talk to me about ideas a lot with my cards and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the details are just so amazing. I can't. So if this feels like something that is exciting, definitely reach out and connect with Stella.
Yeah, we're looking for everybody too. We're looking for creatives. We're looking for vendors. We're looking for service people. We're looking for people who can help us with construction and building when we get the property. And we're actively looking. We're looking for legal help. We're looking for financial help. We're looking for investors if you're interested, partners, or hey, maybe you just want to stay in touch and know when rooms are going to be available for your next family outing. That's great too. I have a lot of information, a lot of connects. We're collecting that all now. So if you have any inkling and just want to stay in the conversation, I do have links for that, and they will be shared, as Miranda said.
Perfect. So now, as we're closing, what I want to do is I'm going to read you, or I'm just going to say the feeling of your incarnation cross, because the questions I've been asking have been in line with your energy of who you are, what you're here to be. And I want you to feel into this cross and then express what comes up for you. As I read it, I was just reading it right now. I was like, oh, this is actually what she's creating. But I just want you to feel into it and see what words or emotions come up for you. So if you want, you can close your eyes. I feel like for me personally, the eye stimulation blurs my intuitive intuition. So you're the right angle cross of Eden. The right angle cross of Eden is about finding and creating paradise in one's life. This cross carries the energy of seeking and establishing a personal sense of peace and fulfillment. It involves the pursuit of what feels good and right, creating an environment that supports a sense of well-being and harmony.
Wow. So if that doesn't sum me up in a few words, and I'll just add this too, my maiden name is Pellerin, and that actually means pilgrim of peace. So even you saying peace in there, it completely makes sense with who I am, what drives me, and where I'm going with all of this. So thank you for that. I would love a copy of that. I'm going to make an art piece to hang it on my wall.
Oh, I love it. And you will receive that. All of my guests, I send a little gift for being on the show. So you will receive that. The last question I want to ask is, I believe when two people come together, our energies are different than individually. So you have your energy of who you are and your brilliance. I have my energy of who I am and my brilliance. But then when we come together, there's a different type of energy. And we've talked about this, how these gates attach and all this kind of stuff. So taking a breath, what is coming up for you right now within this experience, this podcast, this connection that you want to share with all the listeners or humanity?
Oh my goodness, that's a loaded question. I think the biggest thing that comes up here is gratitude for you inviting me on here, and even inviting me on here helped me to, like, I was listening to your podcast, but I lit a fire and I listened to more and now I'm addicted. So that's great. So that brought me here. And to remember to be grateful for all of the things. I think our words come out of our mouths are very powerful. And they're dynamic. So when I'm with me and I'm speaking, it may come off one way, but when we get together, your dynamicness, my dynamic, it turns into something else. So when we speak together like this, it's sparking new inspiration and new vibrations in a different way. The more you exercise your gratitude muscle, the bigger it's going to get.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that being said, I want to say that one of the reasons that I love this podcast was a starting point for me to share my voice. And that's a lot of my journey is voice. And there's been a lot of growth. But now it's more so being grateful for every connection that I get to have, every interview I get to do, because I get to have this space with you alone in this energy. And how beautiful is that to just bring our energies together and share whatever comes up in that moment. I'm grateful for every connection I have. And I want all of you to think about this too. It is about being authentic, about learning who you are, being bold in your authenticity, having boundaries, not doubting yourself, and also letting that other person be authentic and embracing them and having gratitude for that connection. Every connection that you have is a gift, every connection. So I wanted to say thank you for being on the show. Everybody, thank you so much. So grateful that you're listening. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to Stella or you can reach out to me. I love you all. And again, thank you, Stella, for being on here. So much gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you.
My hope is that you walked away with something today that has opened your mind, your heart, or both. Listening to new perspectives not only help you grow and expand, but it helps humanity as a whole. So if you have someone that you feel would benefit from this podcast and you feel that you want to share, please do. Also, would love to connect with you on Instagram. So please follow me at Miranda J. Mitchell. One last thing, if this episode left you with any ahas and insights, take 30 seconds of your time and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. This is the only way I know you are loving the content and connection in this space. And if you want to know more or wondering how we can work together, please go to miranda-mitchell.com, click on the contact in the menu and send me a message. Sending you all love. Till next time.